Update on the proceedings of the 12th session of the sham trial of Dr. Riek Machar, Tenny Durgan, and 7 other SPLM/IO detainees. Juba, 20 October 2025. The so-called Special Court on the Nasir incident today held its 12th session at Freedom Hall in Juba, continuing the politically motivated proceedings orchestrated by the SPLM-IG against the first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, Tenny Durgan, and 7 other senior members of the SPLM/IO. During the session, the prosecution resumed its examination of the lead investigator, Major General Baseless Thomaswani, the police commissioner of Northern Bahr el Ghazal State, following the conclusion of his earlier testimony. In the previous session, Major General Wani alleged, without credible evidence, that the first accused, Honorable Pute Kong Cole, National Minister of Petroleum, had provided $30,000 to mobilize the armed youth, commonly referred to as the White Army, to attack the SSBDF garrison at Wekuridu in Nasir. Today's questioning once again relied on politically engineered and unsubstantiated claims in a desperate attempt to fabricate links between the remaining accused and the Nasir incident, an event widely believed to have been orchestrated by the SPLM-IG itself to undermine the revitalized peace agreement. The new allegations presented by the investigator are summarized as follows. 1. Mr. Manpal Dewar, second accused, alleged to have acted as financier and liaison, facilitating money transfers and sharing casualty lists with armed youth commanders via WhatsApp. 2. Honorable Gatwech Lam Puch, third accused of mobilizing youth and disseminating intelligence. The investigator cited his public remarks criticizing the SSBDF's unilateral deployment of non-unified forces, including Agwalek and Abushak militias, to Nasir. 3. Lieutenant General Gabriel Duplam, fourth accused, alleged to have failed to alert SSBDF command of imminent attacks and to have discussed weapons procurement with SPLA-IO field commanders in late 2024. 4. Dr. Riek Machar, Tenny Durgan, fifth accused of authorizing local mobilization efforts and failing to prevent violence against SSBDF troops, with claims that he communicated with local officials and SPLA-IO commanders prior to the incident, allegations the defense dismissed as pure fabrication. 5. Brig General Camilo Gat Michael, sixth accused, alleged to have facilitated the movement of unauthorized weapons and shared confidential documents. 6. Lieutenant Mating Yak Riek, seventh accused of sharing SSBDF troop movement details with SPLA-IO commanders via WhatsApp, based on data supposedly retrieved from his phone. 7. Mr. Dominic Gatgok Riek, eighth accused, alleged to have circulated a WhatsApp list of SPLA-IO officers promoted after the Nasir incident as a reward for victory. Throughout the session, the lead defense counsel, Dr. Jerry Raimondo Legg, firmly objected to the prosecution's leading and prejudicial questions. Nevertheless, the presiding judge, James Alala Deng, overruled most objections, further underscoring the politically choreographed nature of the proceedings. The sham court adjourned to Wednesday, October 22, 2025, for continuation of the trial. The SPLM/IO reiterates its total rejection of this so-called special court, viewing it as a political instrument designed to dismantle the peace process and persecute Dr. Riek Machar, Tenny Durgan, and the leadership of the SPLM/IO. The movement once again demands the immediate and unconditional release of Dr. Riek Machar, Tenny Durgan, and all detained SPLM/IO members. The lead investigator testified Monday that suspended First Vice President Riek Machar personally authorized local teams that mobilized the White Army militia for coordinated attacks on the Army base, then failed to prevent the killing of surrendered SSBDF soldiers. Presenting evidence during the 12th session in the special court, Major General Baseless Thomaswani, police commissioner of Northern Bahr el Ghazal State, laid out the prosecution's case detailing Machar's alleged command role in the March 2025 attacks on South Sudan People's Defense Forces, SSBDF, positions in Nasir and Oolong, Upper Nile State. Machar, 75, and 7 co-defendants face charges including treason, crimes against humanity, mass murder, terrorism, and destruction of property. The government alleges the March assault was carried out by forces loyal to Machar's SPLMIO and the allied White Army militia. The trial in Juba began on September 22nd. Investigator Wani testified that Machar, in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief of the Sudan People's Liberation Army in Opposition, SPLAIO, set the stage for the violence in Nasir. The court was shown a letter dated March 1, 2025, allegedly written by Machar, instructing county commissioners in Nasir and Oolong to form teams comprising local chiefs, SPLAIO members, and youth to receive SSBDF barges and safeguard their movement. These very teams later attacked and captured the Nasir garrison, resulting in multiple casualties and the destruction of property, Wani told the court. The investigators stated that after the White Army militia overran the Nasir garrison on March 7, Machar convinced the garrison's commander, the late General David Major Dak, to surrender. However, Wani argued that Machar then neglected his duty to protect those who surrendered. The first vice president failed to act despite having intelligence about the planned assaults, Wani said. He neglected to issue orders to stop the attacks or to protect surrendered SSBDF troops and UN personnel. The court heard that during evacuation efforts coordinated with the United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, Machar communicated with then Nasir County Commissioner James Gatluak Liu and SPLAIO commanders. Wani alleged Machar advised them to persuade SSBDF officers to abandon their weapons inside their armored personnel carriers before boarding UN helicopters. Prosecutors said that once the soldiers were disarmed, White Army and SPLAIO forces seized the weapons and executed wounded soldiers, including General Dak and his bodyguards. Although Machar did not speak during Monday's session, prosecutors noted he has previously denied any role in the Nasir and Oolong incidents, insisting those responsible acted independently. The prosecution also detailed the alleged roles of Machar's co-accused. Wani accused MP Gatwech Lam Puch, 66, of disseminating intelligence and supporting White Army mobilization. He stated that during a press conference in Juba, Puch objected to the SSBDF's unilateral decision to move forces to Nasir. Puch also claimed the forces were not pure SSBDF, but included Agwalek and Abushak militias, rather than unified forces. Lieutenant General Gabriel Duplam, 53, SSBDF Deputy Chief of Defense Forces, who was also acting SPLAIO Chief of Staff, was accused of sharing classified military information and failing to alert SSBDF command about imminent attacks. Wani said Dup discussed purchasing 500 PCAM machine gun rounds with SPLAIO field commanders in late 2024. Mampal Dewar, 37, was described as a financier and liaison. Wani said Dewar coordinated mobile money transfers of 123,000 Kenyan shillings and 625,000 Ethiopian birr to support operations and shared casualty lists through WhatsApp with White Army commanders. Camilo Gat Michael, 45, a National Security Service officer, was accused of sharing official documents without authorization and facilitating the movement of unlicensed weapons linked to the attacks. Mating Riek, 45, a radio operator, was accused of sharing classified details of SSBDF troop movements with SPLAIO commanders. Investigators testified that during his arrest, he used WhatsApp to send messages saying he planned to delete data from his phone to avoid self-implication. Another accused, Dominic Gatgok Riek, 27, was accused of circulating a list via WhatsApp of SPLAIO officers who were promoted after the Nasir garrison attack as a reward for victory. Machar's lead defense lawyer, Dr. Jerry Raimondo Legg, repeatedly objected to the prosecution's evidence, arguing that the questions were leading and prejudicial. Most objections were overruled by presiding Judge James Alala Deng. Judge Deng adjourned the session until Wednesday, October 22, noting that the status of other accused persons who remain at large has not yet been determined by the court. Last week, the lead investigator said the first accused, suspended Petroleum Minister Pute Kong Chol, was involved in the Nasir attack by sending $30,000 to mobilize the White Army to attack the army base. A police investigator on Monday gave new testimony alleging that suspended First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar Tini played a central role in coordinating the deadly assault on a South Sudan People's Defense Forces (SSBDF) garrison in Nasir Upper Nile State. Major General Basilio Thomas Wani, Police Commissioner of Northern Bahr el Ghazal State, and a lead investigator in the case, told the special court on the Nasir incident that evidence gathered during the probe points to direct communication between Machar and senior SPLM/AIO commanders in the lead-up to the April attack. According to Wani, phone records and intercepted messages allegedly show that Machar was informed of the operational readiness of forces loyal to him and did not issue any directive to halt the planned offensive. He claimed this indicated tacit approval from the SPLM/AIO leadership. We have verified that Dr. Machar was aware of the mobilization and the subsequent movement of armed elements toward the Nasir garrison, Wani told the court, describing the assault as a coordinated military action under his political command. The attack, which occurred on April 27th, left dozens of SSBDF soldiers dead and prompted President Salva Kiir's administration to suspend Machar and several senior opposition figures, including Petroleum Minister Pute Kong Chol, accusing them of orchestrating the violence to destabilize the peace process. Defense lawyers strongly objected to the testimony, calling it politically scripted and unsubstantiated, arguing that investigators failed to present verifiable digital or physical evidence linking Machar directly to the military operation. This is another attempt to criminalize political leadership and silence the opposition through a manufactured narrative, said Defense Counsel James Gatluak. Observers from regional and international organizations, including the African Union and United Nations Mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, were present at the hearing, which marked the 12th session of the controversial trial widely criticized as a politically motivated prosecution. The court adjourned until Wednesday, October 23rd, when prosecutors are expected to present additional witnesses, including communications experts and military intelligence officers. Update: proceedings of the 12th session of the sham trial of Dr. Riek Machar and 7 other detainees from the SPLM/AIO. October 20th, 2025, Juba. The so-called Special Court on the Nasir incident convened its 12th session at Freedom Hall in Juba, continuing what has widely been described as a politically motivated trial against the suspended first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar Teni Durgan and 7 other SPLM/AIO officials. During the session, prosecutors persisted with their line of questioning aimed at linking Dr. Machar to the alleged Nasir garrison attack, despite the absence of verifiable evidence directly implicating him or his co-accused. Observers from diplomatic missions and civil society organizations once again noted procedural irregularities and political interference, describing the proceedings as a witch hunt intended to weaken the opposition and consolidate one-party control. The defense lawyers reiterated their earlier motion calling for the dismissal of the charges, citing lack of credible evidence and violation of due process. However, the presiding judge postponed ruling on the motion, saying it would be considered at a later stage.
Mala madiliang kadir as in ada tada long ko chavan kanay goma. Tanay anda tulad madilong ko le nam doing dong isyang ko blap nilang kat dar so kono nong ngay kaya. Kachang lokuluke pan bechang jandaro kapay wan ron kinadang di jandaro di dish. Chekon ten charlat kunu mandanam bot ke wudyang ay chekon kaling raida atindiala charlat. Akan edang badat dial chicken kamoy kagot ke chicken kamoy ke tibako eneka. Jara mamoy ke miguan ke ya kakan edial tona. Ane kono kanin ten yam chigara jalong jauda mishal potkang. Duno kanin de teatre chicken wooden shal potkang tikanapal. A chicken ate kokian chicken kayaka mamoy kanyan kian to kono bago eneka. Awana ka dolan toran lalib generator ka dar Dr. M. Machar. Jamoy pan na ka magwan ke ja. Amin nyo dan oy chadar lor ke ja. Tro ka talat ka nagatet cherga manay kondiala. Ka kor nini ki ka kor pa netin chawo ka kor pa de chawo me to ka luk. Chakon di anta e cha luk ay to wele jakon ngait. Ka jakon liang. Ka ta edom to ka luk. Me chi luk me chawo dar. Chikuma. Mula kuma sa Sudan, ay che look japan jako cha look cha abo bor ka social media ke cha abo laf ka life. Na mo che kon dia te liang te no amu man to ga nana. Nei con không mất cót kia mất đuôi lọc. Ata lúc mà để lúc kapai cái liu. Ramecha lat đuôi lia na ke cha kambara no bay lúc. Lai nhìn cái dialan gwen ke jela karen kaka. Bunai chu ke yan chang nyamma. Aka chang roda bunai chu ko ba ai jama ba conclude. Haman to gre nin dialan chua nai kana no la look la chalga look ye katai jikana la kreja and la ka ganin ti chok ni ka dio ka jok ba to ka monday ba nyo kap jok ba nan ka wednesday ba nyo ko kap jok ba nan ka friday ajanta dan ni chigana kulel ka jantama do no ka manai kon diala and ho tell me dio jano nyot kana kana kon kwa kuma kwa defan tell me nyot kana ba mila happy den muga mi nyo dano de nuk de kumo ki de ne ti de ka kum ka ja a jan lot kumen la luk la kap we jok ka kan indian to men cha luk men cha mo pin ka ja akan ti dia la to kana ka ne kona o ne to kon na kwar lok tin gaza ni tin ti nyam lok tin ba luk ba mo kan an chung kan ka kum ma re jan ta ma ke kum mo ka san pa ke me yadit Aneto ke dwalken ko ishika na goro no bikan luk bikan ngok. Ajan ku yelo gwe la luk la ka bajok nindian to. Anta ta kon ka paiwan. Anta ta na ko bina ko paiwan kalian. Tina ka changara chang waro den tok. Anta bina ka chang wan dog den. A chang wan dog den aman bitwa ba luk ba nyo ka byawanyo. Dong ba nyo ka nangka ka chang wan wan den mulo no Friday nyo. Akaman betul kacang orang na, ke mol ke kacang dom baluk ba loiten gaya. Kar ni kan mentuak, kan menlat ke nama kaja, ke menlat ke luka ni na kaja, o gol ko dong de nangwang, ke da ne te to kor o menlat ke na medang cadwal, ajan man gurgan tamal kian ku mata tena tama ke mata wilok. Gore jan wadara loy na dara wang, de kor de ngok, ke chuone te teka der. Ajan malaro dan tama. Duno, dene yende aluk, yene ko dialan tewine te gol, no biaro palping. Chana tan dana bal lumong, luko mo chana kon lip, amite mutu abdara kulot po kora. Aka man tatin akala kap jok bigo luinten bikana kap jok, batapek. Ai chabe kana chabe taka pek ki ai chabe taka gut. Gore jan wada kon diala kordan palping. Anta mamen chikana na lat. Me lat kena pan kachang an waroda. Ki kachang jandaro kapai wal. Kachang ka Monday me lokaluk. Me chikan la lat ki Dr. Riek Machar. Chikalari jan wada Dr. Riek Machar. Kachang kan kapai diop. Charai ke tinya ayo. Charai ka kwar commissioner. Raya jalat keke, chaga jogan wo. Aneto, gore jano biga ban pindun. Ke kalat kena bono wo chikwana Dr. Riek charai ke neto kona gang ke wude chaluma ju ke general edane chanak. Rai kor kana sar, wai jan charai keke. Charai ke neta gang ka kwarun wo. Ladda mai kun ping. Kawya ping, iya kap ke edin ayo. Ke not the tet kun ping ke kama tet kun ji ayo awai chara ja mo cha lat bod gan tin ke gangu de misala de bin majuv dak anamo ajara ja cha lat pan ka chang waro da kanin de kon la na non ka ko do ko balu babu gortan ajara ja chikan lat raja bu kon le ngorun ki kona an wong bu kan ladana duno diong na yendi alan wo yarbun pampin tana liapkel bata ka wan bulu ko mabato kaja achi jo jan wo cha lu kau kak chong to chinware chiga nanyon ke chiga gap akar lele ka jan do balel kan re jamo acha bangwang batan ka but ke bata bwam ba kak chong kaja tana ka lip akalap lugdien Komet kona tan dan lat ki lube je lat ke je fedwa mi sigwa kana ka lep kapal pin. Man tongi jana no ta kel kane gora jana la ma ka kwila dia la bune ka nong ye. ko bana ta nei ke mandan la ro da we ka so Sudan ke na tan dam lat ke lu ke ja ne de kono to ke juba tano dan palping ye ne de al tarera goro biaro palping bona bia jan kun bia gatit achila ta the long yen liang ko dian ke ge ke dial ko la yen min jong ni chang ko bia lerson ko na kam ne ke ye ke jan chana la bia ga bangor ka ku jam chila ta the long ta ke kanai mi ken mi te ga madu mi ken cha hala mani je gore gan o bizar je bi ga nya ga ke bi ga chia ke ja kor der romat ke jan bona ma ko der ler to kon lat karwe wi ka sa Sudan adara ke ja nya bia manu kun dia we chom bono gwan dar man to ke gwa lar men dong la ma ko lat katen kai cha ma bu chot tan gen YouTube gwa mana gore ya no de ne kon dia de ka ban ti YouTube ko de lar dia de ge ka YouTube ko ja no war lo ro da ka ki lare ya ta mar